there you have it. I'm quitting heroing has come to a conclusion. 'Cause, I don't know, I'm very mixed. I'm very mixed at this point, and I thought about waiting for a period of time before I got onto a video and started recording, just to let my thought process settle. But honestly, I wanted to give a more raw reaction. Like, I don't like doing reaction videos, let's be perfectly clear, but I do want people to have my raw thoughts right after the show ended. And honestly, in the conclusion of this series, very mixed. I can't really say I'm happy or I'm mad. I will say I'm disappointed. That is for sure. I think there was way too much buildup over the last 3 or 4 episodes to something really huge or impactful happening, and nothing really happened in the end. And like I said in my last episode impression with episode 11, I knew for a fact they weren't going to kill him. I knew that Leo was going to survive. It's just there was too many statements made at the end of episode 11 that indicated the writer was not going to go through with it. The writer was already planting in the minds of these characters, no, we're not going that route. Like, Ekidona is literally saying, forget that. I'm not doing what you want me to do. Leo is literally saying, I don't want to die. I don't know how that translates to the other generals if they don't strike him dead, but for some reason, they knew not to actually kill him. But there was so much buildup, honestly, over the last 3 or 4 episodes of just how dire the situation is, that Leo is losing himself, and for it to really come down to let's be honest, the switch at the very end is literally saying, well, just tell yourself to stop. Just tell yourself to stop. Tell this inner self, this inner command to stop. Turn it off. And it ended up turning more into a thing about he just convinced himself that's what he needed to do. This was my command. It made it out as if it wasn't necessarily something that was encoded into him. It was implanted into his mind, and he chose that this was his ultimate order. But in actuality, he has a sort of free will to do whatever he wants to do. And he's able to tell himself to stop. Like I said, I had a lot of trust in this writer, and I just feel like this last episode was just, okay. I mean, like I said, I didn't want Leo to die. Honestly, it's not what I wanted. I did not want Lily and Steina and Ekidona and Edwald and Murnez to have to see him die like this, and Ekidona having to finish him off. None of them want this. Every single one of them did not want this to happen. And they're obviously upset the fact that he would kind of force their hand to do this. But to have so much built up into, he's losing it. He's losing control. He stepped over the line over here. He's afraid of himself. He's going to cause destruction to save the world. Everything is building up to that he cannot stop himself. And after 3,000 years, he has come to the conclusion this is the only route that he has. And then Ekidona just says, just don't do it. Oh, okay. It's fixed. It feels, again, like I mentioned last episode's impression, I don't care which direction it took. Take the route that Leo lives. It's fine. I don't want him to have to kill him. Take the route where he has to die. It's fine. But make sure it's impactful, because you've built this up for so long. It better be impactful. It better have a very oomph ending. And I don't, after watching this episode, I don't feel, unless I'm missing something, I might have missed something watching that episode. Maybe there's something in it that I just didn't run into or didn't read right, and I missed that impactful statement. But unfortunately, from what I got nothing. And what's even funnier is that after everything kind of concludes and they choose not to take his core and he heals back up and they stand up, Ekidona officially recruits him into the Demon Lord army, which is great. It seems like their route after this point is to go to essentially try to create peace between the two sides. Like, instead of her getting this power and running back to the demon world, no, we're going to just work together to create a pact with the humans. Maybe then we can have access to this Philosopher's Stone. And as they're talking about this, and it feels very fluffy, I like it, it's cute, everybody's, passed out, and Ekidona and Leo are finally having this moment where they can really establish, because honestly, we haven't had a heart-to-heart between Ekidona and Leo. We've had Ekidona with his, his facade that he created. And the brief times that we've had them together, it was really Leo trying to convince Ekidona that this is the only path to. Like, this is something that has to be done. We're pre-acceptance in the Demon Lord army. We're back here where he was trying to convince her, essentially, that he needs to die. So this is the first point which we have, essentially him establishing, okay, I chose you, and I chose you for a specific reason. I know you'll do good. And then she having to accept those feelings from him. So it was a really cute little scene between the two of them, and something, again, honestly, we needed to have. But the entire time they're talking, it jumped in my head. But what about the gate? Let's remember why we had originally Ekidona was going to have to kill Leo. Let's remember that. The gate was closing. They needed the power. They were thinking about invading to get the stone really quickly because they're going to be stuck in a minute. So they have to break up the army and choose whether to go back to the demon world or be stranded here. We were in a bad situation. Like, things were falling apart. And now we're just having a party, passing out, and talking about peace. But what about the gate? Like, what about the original, thing that built up all of this pressure that we were facing over the last 3 episodes? Again, we're once again not delivering on this buildup of this whole time. And then it finally took Juliet running in and getting super embarrassed, thinking that she stepped in on a romantic situation, which I thought was really cute. And then everybody obviously coming in and kind of expressing that they need one of these generals to do something because everything's falling apart suddenly. And then finally somebody runs in and goes, hey, by the way, the portal. And I'm like, there, that person's got it. That person's got it. They know what I'm thinking. And I'm expecting oh, don't worry about it. We have a plan. Like Leo's got a plan. Don't worry about it. He'll just pour a little bit of energy into it and it'll be good for another, 10 years or something like that. No, they just shrug and go, well, you promised you'd help me out. Yep. And they walk down the hall. It's just, again, not delivering on the buildup. I think that's where my final conclusion comes to, is I'm not mad at this ending. I still love this series a lot. I just feel like it's one of those ones I had to warn people. It's kind of like Erased. I loved Erased. A lot of people didn't like Erased. I loved Erased because I wasn't... At some point, I knew that the whole who is the bad guy wasn't important. I established pretty early on that I was loving this element over here. The human element. The fact of saving the girl. The fact of abuse and stuff like that in the home. That kind of stuff was the thing I gravitated towards. So when it came to the ending... And everybody was super mad. I shrugged at it. But everybody was super mad because they were all looking forward to that. They were looking forward to the big reveal. It wasn't going to be that simple. That's kind of the same feeling I have with this. I'm going to have to warn people the journey's the important part. Just make sure, when I do my review, I was going to be just remember the journey is the fun part. Don't expect anything in the end. That again, Wonder Egg Priorities is another example. Love it to death. Don't watch the last episode, is really the case of that one. But it's the same thing. Don't expect anything in that last episode because you're going to be disappointed. And that's kind of what I feel with this. I had so much build up and so much hype, and I was so into what they were giving me that the ending, it's there. It's just there. Everybody's happy, walks off into the sunset, and it's concluded. But it was cute. I like I said before, I really did like the scene between Leo and Ekidona at the end because there's a couple of parts in there that I really thought were solid. Leo literally telling Ekidona why she lost. In the end, why did she lose to Leo? It was because you loved your people. And that's exactly what he was looking for. Again, this is the whole thing that they kind of established in the last episode with that flashback, or that I thought I was going to recap. It was this idea that he seen something in her that has a value that he couldn't find in any other leader. It was the value of loving their people and protecting their people and not being out to destroy people, mankind specifically. And it was cool that technically Iron Brand's statements kind of full circle. The statements that we got from the very first of the show kind of return at the very end to kind of give that nice little end cap to it. Live for yourself. Once they turn their backs on you, remember to live for yourself. It was essentially Leo's story. The buildup of him protecting people, eventually no longer being needed, and then him forgetting that one statement that Ibrand said. Once they turn their backs on you, don't make that your purpose. Once they turn your backs on you, find something else. Find somebody else that you can follow. And that ends up being Ekidona. But anyways, that's my raw thoughts on the show. Like I said, I think it's a fine ending, but at the same time, it was disappointing. In the end, it was a lot of build up to nothing that, again, it doesn't need to be that he dies. It doesn't need to be that he lives. It's just pull it off the ending. Have impact. If you're going to build up that steam, you got to make sure that it explodes into something that has impact. And they unfortunately didn't do it. Instead, it kind of turned into each character taking their turns, expressing to him that he failed and that he should choose something else. That said, we do have 2 OVAs that will be coming in the following months. We have one in June and we have one in August. At this point, I'm assuming they're just going to be cute little side stories. I didn't look into the titles of them at all because I was afraid they would spoil what was going to happen in this episode. But it does look like they're just kind of some goofy side stories. Like one's like this training camp, I think, and one's supposed to be like something about the castle. But I doubt there's going to be anything really important in those. But it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy this video as always. And I thank you guys for joining me on a semi-weekly basis. I think once the point where things picked up with Milanessa's episode, I think I was trying to cover it on a weekly basis. But I thank you guys for joining me for those videos. If you've not already, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel so you can get all of my videos. I do news, first impressions, episode-by-episode impressions on certain shows, news bits. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support us more, we have a Patreon link and a tips link in the description below. We also have a super thanks button. I definitely appreciate everybody that supports us, and y'all take care.